Well, hello.
Hey.
So this is our first session of the Team Goo Conversations with Libations.
Yes. Love that combination of words right there.
So I have a Bellini, actually, which is peach juice and champagne for anybody that wants to make
Nice.
one.
That sounds
So
delicious.
what do you have?
I have Hornito Silver Tequila in
Mm.
a beautiful handcrafted shot glass made in Mérida, Mexico. So I figured, the whole package. Why not?
Nice. Well, cheers, darling. Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! I'm so glad. I'm so thirsty.
Yes, me too.
Mm. That may go down much faster than I anticipated. That's
Wow.
really good.
That is, it's a little too smooth. I was expecting it to burn through my, mouth and esophagus. Nope.
Nope. So the whole construct around this is to see where our libations take us in our conversations.
Yeah.
It's a hump day thing. We may turn it into a Friday thing. We may turn it into a Friday and a hump day thing. I don't know. Maybe every day. We'll see how that goes.
Yes. All about it.
We can bring in fun flavors of other things maybe some other time.
Okay.
Support of women grow and
Yes.
industry, and I don't know. We'll have some fun around this, but and just to introduce ourselves, I'm Natalie Viglione, founder and CEO of Team Goo.
And I am Andrea Mejia. I am researcher and operations manager at Team Goo.
Yes. And Andrea really is my right-hand woman at the end of the day, right-hand man / woman / everything. So cheers to that also.
Cheers.
We were thinking of topics and wondering kind of what to do for this one. And oddly, randomly, I was watching this weird documentary on a library in Amsterdam. It has over 23,000 ancient books.
Oh my God.
Scrolls. And so clearly that went to the top of the bucket list.
Yeah. So adding it to mine. Sorry, I'm copying.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the books were just unbelievably gorgeous. And, really they were more picturesque than they had written content. But what I really was interested in is something that you and I had discussed before when we were thinking of our Disrupt Now program, which is really all about helping people find their purpose, get out of their way, break through barriers, and really get to the point of living the life that they want. And in that, is the conversation of how spirituality, not being religious, but more being spiritual, looking to yourself, how that connects with science. So they had a little excerpt on Heinrich Kuhnroth, which he was very, very focused on writing about the connection between spirituality and experiment, which in their language, back at that time was really science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's an historic icon that kind of made me think, okay, well, we've talked about this before, so maybe this should be our first topic. So we'll just chat for half hour, see where we go with this. There's no real construct to how we need to put this out into the world. But the interesting part, I think, is that there's a lot of spirituality in Disrupt Now, but there's also science.
Yes.
There's data.
Yes.
So there's woo-woo, if that's what you want to call it.
Woo-woo. Woo-woo. I like it.
But again, there's data to prove that what the methods teach and what the process is makes a massive difference in people's lives. So in our lives, I mean, we lived the program. We're living the program. We're living, breathing works in progress.
Yes. To to the very end.
Yeah.
I believe to the very end.
Let's hope so, because if
Yes.
anyone at this point thinks they're perfect,
sadly mistaken.
There's more problems there than, we can talk about in this particular episode, but
yeah, that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other thing. But just to kick this off, like formally, he had the quote that I really want to start with, and then we can kind of jam from there, is Heinrich Roth's quote. He was from the 17th century, by the way. Okay. This depiction of his quote, he was more around the 1600s, but he said, "What good are torches, light, or spectacles to those who will not see?" Which I love. I love that.
Yes.
So anyway, so let's kind of talk about that. What does that really mean to us? What does it mean as it connects to, who you are? Because you're very scientific in your approach to everything as well. I don't know. What does it kind of make you think of? And to think that it's so long ago too, that's kind of interesting.
I know. What's funny is that I think about that all the time insofar as, so I'm in college right now. I returned to college a couple of years ago, and I'm doing a double major in physics and creative writing. And one of the things that is curious to me is how we have made these advances in human history when it comes to science and technology. But it's like you said, it seems so far away. It's like, it almost seems like a loop that's happening. Like we're missing the mark sometimes. I mean, we still make advances and leaps in knowledge and scientific advancement, but I think that there's just like so much. There's such a bigger thing at play here, because we do live in society. We do live in communities. Like New York City is a really big city. You have here with a lot of people. I think that you get one of my favorite philosophers is Kierkegaard. He was a Danish philosopher, and he said the crowd is untruth. That was like one of his quotes, and it's so simple, laconic but true. You tend to lose yourself in the crowd, and so you become kind of blinded by like the things, by getting caught up in like the collective goal and the collective drive in the region that you're currently living in. In New York City, you know how it is now. I mean, it's hustle and bustle and rat race and like nonstop, and you like drive yourself to the ground. I mean, there's value in that, but it can be detrimental as well. So if you don't keep your individuality, keep yourself alert, keep yourself vigilant, keep yourself aware, keep yourself woke, and not blinded by false representations of truth, right? So that, I guess I know I kind of went back a little and forward, but
no, it's good.
That's kind of like my, what I'm thinking. What about you? How did you connect to it, like personally?
I mean, that's totally a piece of this in such a bigger sense, in terms of thinking, okay, well, you can give all the tools to many people, and that doesn't mean that they see. That doesn't mean that they're awake. And oftentimes I think we are in denial of our truth and our authenticity and who we really are, because we do get lost in the crowd. We're lost in the keeping up with the Joneses, moving at a speed in which we're not aligned. And clearly, you go back to 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, when they didn't have all the things that we have today. I mean, look, we're doing this whole cool thing. We're drinking. Oh man.
Right.
Things like that. Like, so, but there were still connectivity issues between, you know, what does the self mean? What does my spirituality mean versus the church versus the entity, and, you know, how that connects with, you know, the truths that they knew even at that time as what they knew as their science. So it's interesting that as a human race, we have the same problems. Like you said, it's almost as if we're in this loop.
Yes.
This loop of disconnection,
right?
And some people getting the connection, right. And the some people that have the connection, I mean, they're your transformational teachers. They're people like us who we know for a fact we woke up, we're awake because we realized we can talk about our past a little bit, how much of our past when we weren't awake, and I look back thinking, I was not awake. I was asleep at best. I was moving with the crowd. I was doing whatever would make me fit in.
Right.
And even now, you know, I realize moving against this grain, it is not easy.
It isn't. Oh my God, it isn't.
You start to see these people, you know, kind of move out of your life in this way that's like, okay, well, I didn't really think this process, you know, you think when you can help people become awake and empowered and peaceful and on their purpose track, that people would be like overjoyed and like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Right.
That's not the reality at all. And even back then, that wasn't the reality. I mean, you know, many philosophers struggled to get the masses to see what they were talking about.
Right. I mean, and, you know, once we started to embrace the power that we held as human beings, to embrace the possibility of our own power, our own higher power, and we started to experiment, right? For example, like with alchemy, you know, a precursor to chemistry, you know, it started in Egypt and in China, really independently, and it became a pursuit for the elixir of life, you know. And I think that is really important because we tend to give up our power without really even knowing that we do. And like you were saying, following the crowd, you kind of lose your power in a sense, because you're sort of accepting something as truth without really defining it for yourself first, you know, and that becomes tricky. So I think that it becomes really important to, I always use the analogy. I love Star Wars and Star Trek. Yeah, I know that, like, you know, you're either or, right? But I think I like both.
So do I. So
yes,
but we're also sisters from other misters.
Yeah. yes.
Better
all of that.
Right.
Me too. But there is this duality that goes on, you know, when it comes to the sense of self. You know, there is this sense of awareness and the sense that you are a collective as well. We are inextricably connected with each other. I mean, we are 99 to 99.9% similar in our DNA. There's only a variation of 1% to 0.01%. But that, like, think about that, how alike we are. And so, like, that becomes our connection to each other with this collective connection, right? And I truly believe that once you start reconciling, or attempting at least to reconcile this duality, You start to not only own your own power, but you can give it back, like in Star Wars, like the Force, you know. You can draw from the Force, but it's you have to give back to it too, so that it can keep coming back to you. It's just like what goes out there, it comes back to you. Kind of says what goes up must come down. And so I mean, that's science, the pursuit of knowledge, because we are intelligent, sentient beings. I think that continues to be an important mission for us as human beings, you know. And it's funny because science started, the elixir of life, if you think about it, it was like a spiritual journey, trying to like navigate the waters of you know, of our underworld, of what we're made of, why we're here, how can, you know, trying to see our limit, push our limits, how far can, you know, how powerful are we. And I just think that it's in life with everything, it's just the trick is trying to find the balance. You know, you can't go Anakin Skywalker, right? Because he just went to the dark side. And it's easy. It's easy to follow the truth, like you were saying. That it's easy to follow this path that's already been kind of like built by other people. And there's certain things that you should take from that path. Like history is supposed to be a tool for education, to teach us what to do and what not to do, especially. Right. And
don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly. You know, don't fix what isn't broken, but you can still make it better. You can still enhance it. You know, you can still like make your own path, but you know, it can still be parallel with, you know, this common path, right? Look, the thing is, like, nobody has this 100% figured out. And the beauty about science, and what I actually like as an inspiring scientist, is to not be too get caught up in the weeds, not, you know, miss the forest for the trees. Like, you get caught up in the technicality of it, which is absolutely important, because you have to understand how these systems work in order to be able to, you know, to manipulate them and to use them to provide a better quality of life for us. But yeah, it's also important to just be vigilant. Just ask yourself if this is something that, you know, you feel connected to, you know. Just feel like I went off on a tangent, and then I'm like, where the hell was I going with this? Cheers on that, guys. I'm like hearing myself in my head. I'm like rambling.
No, I followed all of it. And you know, I think the alchemy part, I've always loved that word in general, because it's like the mix between philosophy and the philosophy of science, which the philosophy of science is interesting, because oftentimes, you know, even world-renowned scientists, astrophysicists, whatever, there's a piece of what they do that is philosophy, that is faith, that is hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah. There's this, one of my favorite philosophers, Jean-Paul Sartre, he called it bad faith. It's in my notes. He describes a phenomena in which human beings under pressure from social forces adopt false values and disown their innate freedom, hence acting inauthentically. So you hit it right like the nail on the head. It's true.
It's true. And it's when you think that science is just science, it's only data, you lose the essence of what the push of science is.
Yes.
Because it's really the pursuit, like you said, of understanding who we are and what we're here to do. And what we are is the biggest piece, and where we're at. So, you know, we're in this universe. Okay, great. So then you have the whole concept of aliens, and you have the whole concept of Are we the only life forms out there? Well, we can't be, but we are, according to data. But okay, there's another philosophical part about that, which is, if we were, then why do we exist? So you get, this is where this connection between the science and spiritual pieces come together, because it's, you have to have a piece of spirituality. Again, I'm not talking about uniform religion spirituality.
Yes, right. Let's be clear. We don't mean this is non-religious in terms of spirituality.
It's not Bible thumper, God-fearing.
Right,
People can believe whatever they want to believe.
Absolutely, yes.
But have a belief system, but put your belief system also within yourself. Have a practice where you bring the two together, I think is what even, Kuhnroth was saying, is if you don't have a practice that meets, the spirituality, the meditation, the coming into oneself, that meets the scientific day-to-day in his experiment world, if you don't bring those together, you can't see the bigger picture. You're underneath all of that, and you're not experiencing everything that you can experience as a human.
Yes. Yes, 100%. It's like you're disconnecting yourself from yourself. It's like your physical body is here, and your essence or your self, the self, is here, and there's just you're creating a bigger gap between the two.
Yeah.
By not making sure that you're checking in with yourself and that's what meditation is supposed to do. Now, full disclosure, I'm terrible with keeping up with meditation, although it's something that I never give up hope with in terms of because unintentionally I stumbled on meditation in my younger years, in my youth, when I was going through personal struggles. And it is, not only is it therapeutic, but you really do grow stronger as a person. It's you enhance your intuition, you enhance your intellectual thought. You become everything enhances your senses, your thought process, and your not to mention the obvious, that it helps lower blood pressure. It helps relieve symptoms of anxiety and depression. It's just a good mental health practice anyway.
And stress practice.
Yes.
Relieving practice. And and I actually read, because I was thinking about meditation and what it, not only there's the scientific elements around it that proves it helps and it provides a better state of mind for people. But I was reading that it's actually, been called a technology. So it's been proven that your brain literally changes. It fires differently from a neurological perspective. So from even bringing in neuroscience, it changes the way that your brain operates. So it becomes, not just something that's good for the soul, or, I relaxed for 10, 15 minutes, whatever. But it's also something, it's changing, it's almost, a wiring change in your brain.
It's incredible. That's incredible. It's it almost seems like a change in like an upgrade in hardware and software. You know what I mean? It's it makes complete sense. We are kind of like these little computers. Our brains are like these computers. So making those connections. Yeah.
That we teach with Disrupt Now as the basis of this is that you have to understand the realities between self-care, having your own spiritual practice. Yes. But it's not, you're not going to become a person that's awake if you're just meditating sometimes and doing yoga sometimes.
Right.
It's not that. That is a practice. Those are tools, technologies to help you get to the place of becoming self-aware, becoming understanding of the reality that, like we were saying before, that we are all connected. There is a conscious collective.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a part of that awakening process, it takes a real deep dive into understanding how you live, what you're doing in your life, and going through that awakening process, because it's a process. It takes guts.
It takes guts.
You're gonna fight massive.
Yeah. You gotta question things, question yourself. You know, you gotta maybe even feel overwhelmed with you know, this whole like other world that you've just opened inside of yourself. Yeah, I mean, but it's just being able to make sure that, okay, don't get discouraged by it. You know, if it's uncomfortable, it means it's working. If you're feeling uncomfortable and awkward, that is a growth opportunity. It's just like going to the gym, right? It's just like exercising. It is painful. It is painful, especially when you're starting out. And then like within a couple of months, it starts to get a little easier. You feel stronger. You know, you're making new connections. You know, your fibers are making stronger fibers, you know, and you know, building up that muscle. So it's just like that. You break things down in order to build them up stronger. And if you can look at it that way, as a way to like build brain muscle, I mean, I think that might make it easier as to like, okay, first off, a simple goal. I just want to make my brain stronger. I want to make my brain bigger. I want that muscle to get big and strong. You know, empower yourself with power and knowledge, you know, that comes through that. And not just with like textbook smarts, but have experiences, make connections, you know, be okay with yourself, you know, with all parts of yourself, because we are imperfect. By nature, we are inherently imperfect. And there is beauty for that. There is beauty because there's growth opportunity for that. You know, life is messy and whatever, you know, it's part of it, you know. It's not always going to be like, you know,
it's
like
not
roses and pretty and
rainbows and
exactly
stuff,
right,
and unicorns, and that'd be nice. That'd be really great. But it's and we've talked about this before, but it's also the fact that, you know, because we are imperfect, that's actually what connects us, the imperfections, right?
Yes.
And in those imperfections, you know, we should be okay with deep diving into the other imperfections of what we are and what it's created. But we also, you know, it's so imperative to live the life that you choose to live, and not something that somebody else tells you have to do. And it's a struggle.
It is.
I mean,
it is, because
it comes with it, like in all different ways, from all different kinds of people, and communities, and people that don't really intend, but I kind of think that some people do intend to manipulate and hurt, to make other people that are different than them feel like, if you're not traditional, you know,
right,
that's a thing.
Yes. I mean, it's I can't remember who came up with this, but it's a philosophical term called crabs in a bucket. You know, it's like once they see a crab trying to get out, another crab will just kind of like pull it down. And you don't know whether it's to pull down because like, or it's trying to climb up too. And So it's kind of like that struggle. So I thought when I took like an intro to philosophy class last semester, so this was
top of mind.
Top of mind, exactly. One of those things that struck me, like, oh, that's interesting. I want to explore that a little bit longer, because
is very interesting.
I'm a person, for better or for worse. I believe in the innate goodness of people.
Me too.
You know, and
maybe to a detrimental
yes, it can be. I mean, that's one of the things, like, I've had to learn to trust my intuition when it comes to that, trust my instinct, because sometimes your subconscious taps into something that your conscious mind overlooks, and that's just because the conscious mind is just focusing on comprehension, listening comprehension, trying to make sense of what's happening in the moment in front of you, and your subconscious catches subtext, so I think it becomes
like the metadata.
Yes. That's exactly
metadata.
Yes. Perfect
technology.
Exactly. By the way, I have to point out, guys, we both have red lipstick on right now. I have to say,
not planned.
Not planned. It was not. That's how. Okay.
But that's why
side note.
Here.
Yes.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
There's another, again, going on John Paul Sartre. I want to share a quote that I found that I really love, but I also struggle with, but in a hurt so good kind of way. He says, quote, "Man," and I like human, "is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he or she does." And man, is that interesting, because on one end, you kind of feel like, but how free are we? Like, how free are we to make free choice, like choices out of free will, right? And I mean, it's one of those things, like, okay, maybe we can compromise. We can say that to a certain degree that we're free. But there's still that degree or that space, right? Even just like within our DNA, the 1% to 0.01% where we're different and unique, that can still be significant enough where you can work from that space, So what does it mean to be responsible for your own freedom?
Yeah.
Especially because, I mean, this was something that I have journeyed through and, gone through storms, personal storms through, to try and reconcile those two, those two, like the paradox that freedom kind of creates, a sense of liberation, but this other part where the background stuff, how free are we? To what extent are we influenced by other things or other people? And is it really a free choice? I mean,
and it's also, so when we were diving into Disrupt Now and building out the script and, kind of work how the process works. I'm
so really excited by that. I'm so excited. Yeah. You guys, oh my God, you don't even know. But you will.
So the Matrix had a really great quote, and this is, Mark,
great
my husband and I,
film. Yes.
Favorite.
Film.
Oh yeah. Yours too. We know.
Yes.
We're all on the same page.
Oh yeah.
But there's a quote that says, "We're not here because we're free. We're here because we're not free. There's no denying reason. There's no denying purpose. Without purpose, we would not exist. It was purpose that created us. Purpose that connects us, pulls us, guides us, drives us. Purpose that defines us, and purpose that binds us."
Ooh, wow.
Right?
Yes.
That was a Mr. Smith quote.
Whoa.
And it's right in that scene right before he's, he thought he was killed, but he thought he killed
Neo.
And he wasn't, and he created like hundreds of Mr. Smiths, and they all fought him.
Right.
Second one, I
yeah.
think. Yeah. So, but I was like, wow, that movie really struck a chord. Regardless, I mean, the script is just unbelievable. But
there's a whole branch of philosophy just dedicated to the Matrix,
right?
Because it brings up all these existential,
does
questions, and yeah.
I remember I was dazed and confused for days because that's when I started to really wake up. And
that's a good thing. That's a good place to be in, because that means that it struck a chord. There was a breach. There was a breach in your consciousness. It's just like,
what?
Boom. All it needs is a little crack, right? Like on your windshield, that crack, right. Just to, so open it up. So
we're really, I believe, and I think our belief system as our ethos and where we work from is everyone is here for a very unique purpose. It's that DNA that's different, our own blueprint that we leave on the world. And it has to be driven from a place of what you want to create in your life, to drive your purpose from you, which isn't discovered, or let me go over here and find it, or let me go buy these, Dolce Gabbana, items, and, maybe I can find myself in those, or let me get lost in alcohol every day. It's not finding it. It's letting it loose and free and understanding where all of these connections are coming at you. And like great philosophers and alchemists and scientists and, spiritual leaders all over the globe over time have taught, it's in your purpose that you create the life that you really desire, because you're just letting it flow through you.
Yes.
You're not forcing it. It's not
right.
hard. It's always going to be hard because it's called life, but
yeah. No escape from that. There's just no escape. But I do want to ask you more on the term purpose, because I feel like I remember in my 20s, that word had a dual meaning for me. It was something that I yearned for, but something that frightened me. Something that was a little daunting. It was this looming dark figure, but this beacon that I can see out there, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to get to it. But anyway, how would you say that our purpose is created by, where do we get the sense of our purpose? At what point in our lives? Is it from birth? Are we born with this premeditated purpose? Or is it something that as we grow old, as we become aware, right? As we get into our teenage, young adult years, when we start to be aware of our place in this world of life, how these systems work in the realm of the world, in the universe that we live in. What's your personal thoughts on that? Where do you think it's born? Where, at what point?
Both. All. So now when you look at teachings and how many teachers are teaching this process, because again, there's no other great word for it besides process. You see that there are people that literally are born understanding, feeling, and owning their purpose literally from the get-go. There's this documentary called Choice Points, and it's on Gaia. If anybody has, subscriptions to Gaia, it probably can air other places as well. But there's something from that film that really was interesting in that there's this kid, 8 at 8 years old, he uncovered his life purpose. He had initially, tooled around with some like kid like fantasies, but then somehow he got a hold of, you know, a label on soda, and he was like, what is this? And so long story short, he went on this his own journey at 8. He's, I think, now 11 or whatever, but he's going to be an organic farmer because he wants to make Generation Z, instead of the unhealthiest Generation A, in health.
That's so funny.
So
no, I mean, like, that's great.
Yeah, it's different for everyone, because for me, for example, it took me 35-ish, 6-ish, 35 years to really get to the point of purpose, because I knew it, I felt it.
It's a journey.
But I just couldn't express it. Mm-hmm. So, and this is how Disrupt Now was born, right? Is uncovering, okay, well, what did I do to get to that point? And now, you know, the hair stands on the back of my neck when we have these conversations. When, you know, Team Goo is its own entity, but as we grow this thing and it's evolving and it's getting bigger, and Disrupt Now is now kind of like how we do the work. That's purpose. Yeah. And now I keep, you know, you can keep getting in your own way, and you can keep stumbling, or you can just say, you know what, whatever this is, it needs to come out of me, and I'm going to do whatever is necessary to make it come out. Yes. And live with my purpose, even if, you know, Joe Schmo over here and, you know, Jane Schmo over there, if they don't like it, it doesn't matter, because it's my purpose. And so a long-winded answer to the fact that I don't think that it's easy to say when or how, but it's like this aha moment, this freedom that comes over you going, oh my God, this is it. This, God, I feel this with every answer. And it doesn't have to be, you know, like, I'm going to be president of the United States, or I'm going to, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be the biggest thing on the planet. It can be this, but it's something bigger than you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if it scares you, then you've uncovered your purpose, because it needs to be bigger than you to be able to leave your unique footprint on the planet. And I think that, you know, there's never a late moment to uncover it, but I think that if we could get out of our way earlier, and if we were educated properly earlier, and if we had parents that supported it properly earlier, imagine what we as a human race could do. Right. You know,
Oh my God. Yes. I mean, and that goes into a whole other thing where it's, again, the social contract that we live in this society, you know, whether it's the state that you're in or the country that you're in, can either foster that kind of environment, or it can constrain it, or it can really minimize
challenges, right?
Yes. I mean, that's just to put it nicely. Yes. Because it's unnecessary. Oh, sorry, guys. Whoa, that is so loud. Okay, sorry. So it's so I always try to see how far down the rabbit hole goes, you know, when I'm thinking about these types of things, and like what can be and what is, you know, and it's something, you know, this is where like this paradigm shift I feel is happening right now. We're in a really interesting place. We're like in the ire of the storm. You know,
we are having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
And we're not the only ones.
Right. Exactly. So, it's like set this chain of events to happen, this firestorm of, like, you know, these sparks of critical thinking and thought, and wanting to go beyond just like yourself, you know, go beyond. Yeah. I mean, again, all about balance, right? Self-care is important, but you also have to, it's important to give back as well, because we are part of this vast network of beings, of sentient beings, where we're just connected,
Yeah, and I think that, what connects us to history in this sense of what we're speaking about today, about, spirituality and science and that connection, and, where we're moving towards is something that people are tapping into, whether or not they really understand what they're tapping into. And it's scary. I know that it's scary, because it's like you are going against the grain,
mm-hmm.
in the sense that you're basically a salmon, swimming upstream. And
right. Yes. No, it's never easy to set yourself apart from the crowd, right? You take a big risk, and it could be a lonely journey.
It's very lonely, and
yes,
and it can be an angry, like, what the fuck journey, that you wonder, okay, well, wouldn't being like everybody else just be easier?
Sure. Yeah. But it is, but is that what you want? I mean, we don't even know we don't know what lies beyond this realm of existence
and
that we're in. Nobody. And that's like, that's exciting to me. And this is something, I'm so glad you said that, because I feel like we need to have more conversations on this, because we don't talk about death a lot in this country, in this society. We don't, it's something that scares us. And so, because like we fear the unknown, and so we just like shut it out. We put, we lock it away. Or even in that, like, I'll deal with it when it gets here. I'll deal with it. And I don't think that that's very productive. That's reactive, not productive. Yeah. It's reactive. Yeah. And I think that it would be nice to start embracing death. Now, guys, all I'm saying is, when your time has come and its natural process, right? To be, because it's scary. I mean, it's scary. I mean,
I think that when you're alive today, tomorrow, I mean, at any moment, honestly, it can go in another direction. So what would you do differently today?
Right.
To live, if you knew exactly your expiration date, which, by the way, nobody does.
No.
Some people do, because they are given circumstances in which they have, diseases where they, but the reality of the majority of people, they're like, okay, well, I know I'm going to die someday, but that doesn't change the way that anybody lives, how they live.
Right.
They just do, and they're not active, conscious, and awake in the doing. There's no purpose. There's nothing supporting you going like this. Mm-hmm. It's just like, oh, I gotta wake up and I gotta go do, then I gotta go over here.
Same landscape, right?
I gotta have kids, and then I gotta get married. Right. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I gotta get married first, and then I gotta. Oh wait, I gotta go to college first. I mean, it's like, oh my God, why do we have all these points? Because we're creating limits for ourselves, and not really looking at this from the perspective of, what if, live life backwards. What would you do if you know exactly I'm gonna die? So, and it's just short time.
That's the thing. Yes, we are so much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. I mean, we may not have, powers of, like, go beyond the laws of physics, that rule our world, and but within the realm of our own existence, we are powerful.
We are powerful.
And fear is a very powerful emotion, and to the point where it can be a weapon, or it can be a tool. Oh my God, best husband in the world. Oh, yes.
This is why we're business partners also.
Yes. Best partner. Oh, that's so sweet. I bet it tastes good too.
He knows me.
Oh my God. That was like, you see, guys, this is like that whole monologue of Anne Hathaway in Interstellar about love. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Don't get, don't feel like you're uncool if you're embracing the magical part of science, okay? Like,
so that's exactly the point, I think. And this, we can close it out on this point, because that's you said it exactly. And you say this, and you've talked about this beautifully, the magic in science.
Yes.
And
the magic of science. I mean, the magic in and the magic of, the wonderment, the curiosity, the going through the unknown. Just like, I mean, we are voyagers. We are historically, we are navigators. We're voyagers. We're sea voyagers, and we're cosmic voyagers. And it takes bravery. Be brave. You be brave. You're not. And you have now, thankfully, we're in a moment where you have support. You have a lot of people out there that are tapping into this, and that also want to navigate those those waters, that also want to tread those waters, see where it takes us, go into the dark, with eyes wide open and the torch, from your quote. I mean, we can do this, and we can do it together, and there's power in that. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to be the lone wolf. You don't have to be an island. You can, even reach out to people.
Going to feel like it.
Sure. Times. Yeah.
I mean, and that's something that believing in magic, believing in science, believing in spirituality, believing in the self, believing in the universe, believing in a higher power. All of these things are so incredibly scary for the majority of people. But if we understand that we're all going on this journey together, but if you can open your mind to think that yes, all of this can exist, and I can explore all of these things, and together we build a community of people that want the disruption, then we're a community. We're not solo in our efforts or our thinking or in our belief system.
Yes.
We're together.
Yes. Exactly. Power numbers.
Cheers, everyone who is going on their disruption journeys.
Be brave. We're right there with you.
Courage and strength.
Yes.
And, this isn't like something to say, come join us, buy the program. No, it's join us on the journey. And if you want our help, we're here.
This is for yourself, for you, like your personal, a personal journey, a warrior's journey. Mm-hmm. It can be lonesome, but then you meet people along the way, that can kind of help you and guide you, maybe point you in the right direction, maybe give you some insight that you didn't consider before. And then, it can just kind of strengthen your purpose, give you better direction. I mean, whatever the case may be, but make yourself open and available to it. That's all
So, we are holding our torch in our cocktails today.
Yes.
This is the first of our Wednesday series, because, having a cocktail is not bad, and it opens your mind. Having too many cocktails, bad. But
balance.
There's a balance in everything.
Balance.
And it gives you courage to discuss things that perhaps, you wouldn't otherwise. So
yeah, exactly.
That's why we're doing this, and you can have a drink while you're listening to this too.
Right. We encourage
just
that. Right. Just a little bit, a little sip,
Ooh, we should come up with a Team Goo cocktail.
Oh my God, yes.
I'm writing that down.
Yes. See? Coming right up, guys. Yes.
All right. Well, this has been a beautiful conversation.
Thank you, Nat, so much for.
I love you.
I love you too. And this was a great idea. I'm glad that we're doing this. I mean, we get to explore our own questions, our own curiosities, while at the same time,
and because
bringing in other people too on the conversation. I mean,
magic and science. I mean, It's a conversation that needs to be explored.
Yes.
So next week we'll tackle another subject. But questions, comments, whatever, put it below.
Please.
Whatever. I mean, if you think we're crazy, go ahead.
Okay, it's cool.
We're going to have All right.
Do it.
Love you. Love you, Andrea.
Bye. Love you, Nat. Love you guys. Thanks. Bye.